All right, we are back. Now we are back on this here beautiful Ranger. Currently on this unit with the other unit, we are sitting a little over $1,100 in the pair of them. I haven't had any luck selling that other unit. Honestly, I think it's just too clapped. I did decide I would take and pull the cylinder head off of this to take a look at it, see if maybe I would get lucky and it was just a stuck valve or something. Not good news. Both the exhaust valves are bent. All of that metal particles in there, which hopefully didn't go into the bottom end, but I don't see anything sparkly down there. There was some in the exhaust, and as far as I could tell, it just looks like it chewed up that piston a bit. Oh, shit, there's the ring. That's not good. Now, I legit did not see the damaged piston. Hopefully, this isn't about to turn into needs a crank. When I turned this engine over by hand off of the flywheel, it felt like it had good compression, and that's a problem. You may be asking yourself, why is that a problem? Because last time I had that happen, it wasn't that it had good compression, the crank was seizing on the rod bearing, causing it to feel like it had good compression, when in fact it did not. All right, I got those two bolts off, that's off. We just need a nice little smack. I'm not reusing this cylinder, so you do not want to do that if you're reusing the cylinder. Dang, did I forget something? No, she's just playing hard to get. Shit. That piston is trashed. Dang, that's bad too. Look at that piston. Just completely obliterated. So I can tell you one thing for a fact. This was supposedly running when he parked it. And I can guarantee you that is why he parked it. That drives me nuts. People are like, runs when I parked it. Yeah, you parked it because it's broke. I'm gonna have to figure something out because we've got, if you look down in there, there's a bunch of metal pieces. This crank looks like it's taken a bit of abuse. I don't know if I want to run this now. Bearings and everything feel okay. Not seizing on the wrist pin. I had a Ranger do that once. Years ago, I swapped in a Sportsman 500 engine that had fell off a trailer. It was obviously totaled. There was no fixing the Sportsman. But the Ranger, the engine was just in pieces. The shop quoted the dude too much. He didn't want to pay it. I picked up the Ranger for $500 or something like that. Picked up the Sportsman on the way home for $200 or $300. Pulled the motor from the Sportsman, put it in the Ranger, rode around, everything was good. And then as I was driving it, it gets to a point where like it idles perfect, runs fantastic, and it drives down the road good, but it won't go over 30 miles an hour. And once you get to 30, it's just bogging real hard. I didn't have the experience I do now. I took it to a shop out of Rowlett, Texas. The dude is known as the Polaris guy. He knows his stuff with these. He checked it out and he's looking and looking. He said, man, your cam looks good. Everything looks fine. He goes, the only thing I can think of is we tear into the top end and see how it looks. Well, turns out the wrist pin was seizing on the rod, and lo and behold, yeah, ended up having to rebuild that whole motor that I swapped in. I'm gonna have to think about what to do with this one. I don't know if I wanna run it with all that metal in there. I mean, at this point, like, I think it might be one of those, at minimum, the motor's gotta come out, and I really didn't wanna go that far into this thing. This was supposed to be a quick top end. Even the jug's broken. So it looks like things just went from bad to worse. I thought, all right, let me look around online and see what some other people do. And I was like, man, you can pull the engine and flush it out with diesel and hope everything's good. Man, at that point, like, there's not that much harder to just go ahead and split the cases on this. I already got the sealant because Polaris didn't use a gasket for the cases. I'm like, all right, let's make sure we're good to go on the piston. I'll put all that together on the bench. And then turns out my cylinder that I had used, that I was planning on using, is not going to work. Not because something's wrong with the cylinder, because somebody didn't mark it when they put it on the shelf, and I'll take the blame. That's me. I've got all these parts and everything's just labeled by remembering what it went to, and I have a terrible memory. But that's not a 500 cylinder. That's got to be a 450 because like the piston's not going in that. So back to the drawing board. I need to find a motor. Kind of considering possibly from that other Ranger, stripping it down, pulling the motor out of it and slapping it in there. I'm gonna get a carb and put it on that and see if we can make it run. If I can get it up and running good, I'll pull the motor out of that and drop it into that because it's worth a lot more. And you know, that one over there isn't exactly selling like hotcakes. Really frustrating. I've been waiting on parts for a week and could have been sourcing a motor for a week, and that's on me, you know. I guess I should have tore it all the way down instead of just assuming. Check that out. I rigged up a setup on there so it'd run. And she is purring like a kitten. Definitely got some air leaks going on. Like this air box is not right. Wow. Smoking a little bit from all that whatchamacallit we put in there. Oh, that's water coming out of that. Oh, never mind. I take that back. Just drip it down from there. So I guess it's time to get this thing stripped. I'll be honest with you, that thing runs too good. Too good. Man, these 500 motors, they're good motors. Unless you manage to destroy the piston like they did on that one. I'm blown away this thing runs that good. So I guess this is gonna be our motor. All right, motor's out, ready to go. She's gotta wait for the stator. I gotta pull the stator and flywheel out of this one. The stator and flywheel that were in that were completely trashed, and now we just need to get this motor out, get everything else put back on. All right, now we've made it to the point. The oil is in, new fuel pump is on. That's in my way. Let's see. Shit, forgot to hook up the fuel pump. Let's try that again. Come on, why aren't you coming on? Oh, there it goes. Now we're priming. Yep. I love that sound. Yes. Sounds good too. It's shaking a little bit because I still don't have that upper motor mount on. Some stuff I don't want to put all the way back together until it's, you know, completely done. Not smoking or anything. All right, I think we're good to go. Now, turns out the rear brakes work absolutely fantastic. I had the front end jacked up doing the air bleeding, and I went to check out the clutches. I forgot when I left it, and I forgot that whenever I installed the shift cable, I left it in reverse. My indicator lights aren't working at the moment. I still have to figure that out. So I went to floor it and check out the clutches, and I got so close to running this. It was actually closer. When it was jacked up, I don't think I could have stuck my finger in between here. But when I let it down, it kind of went forward. Let's take this thing for a spin though. So maybe not so fast. Whatever is going on, for some reason the fuel pump won't kick on now. And then I find this, that plug looks terrible. I was like wiggling the wires, and I don't know if maybe my harness coming down through here to there is bad. I won't replace the entire harness for that. Like, I mean, where we could just tap into it and run a wire to the fuel pump if there's a break in the wire in this harness. But I'm gonna try to clean this up and see what it does. This is another thing it's doing now. Oh, see, it's not doing it. Oh, there it goes. See? The all-wheel drive light should come on, but watch. If I turn it on, does nothing. If I turn the lights on, comes on. Interesting. I really hope it's not that Sure Power unit. They're known for being problematic too. All right, so this thing's frustrating to say the least, but I think I got it all sorted out. So turns out the wire was broken in right there. Somebody's already been in there before too. So I replaced the wire going up, and let's see. Fuel pump's coming on. There we go. Good. I'm gonna turn this idle down a tad. It didn't really sound high. This thing's turned into a headache real fast. Because it sounded like high gear on the transmission's messed up. Still sounds kind of high. Try that. All right, so neutral, low, high. Let's make some poor decisions. And we're smoking. I hope we're not burning oil. See if this will make the creek. Like a tank. This is not as bad as I was expecting it to be. I really thought it was gonna ride like complete trash. It's really not that bad. Ooh, my foot right there, real close to that front differential. But yeah. I'm gonna whip it around for a little bit, see what it does. Maybe that smoke, some residuals, oil burning off. Not crazy, unheard of. All right, so now it's doing this. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I had one do this before, and it was leaking the exhaust. See if it's leaking. See those bubbles? Fan's working good. Those bubbles mean, yep, you guessed it, head gasket. This thing has been a massive headache. I don't know, I really need to think about it. Now the carb's leaking fuel. You know, honestly, sometimes you win some, you lose some, and this one's a loser. And that comes with this type of stuff when you're doing these buying, fixing, and selling. Sometimes you just have to know when to cut your losses, and I think I'm at that point with this. I put too much time, too much money and effort and parts getting this thing up and going. The thought of pulling that head off and doing a head gasket and potentially the head itself is cracked, I don't know. I just don't think I want to do all that. I might change my mind. I'm gonna take a step back and think about it. But sometimes this is how it goes, and you have to know when to cut your losses. I think this one I lost on. I mean, I'm gonna make money, but I mean, as far as like time goes, no. No, I've probably got 10 hours of work on this thing. What, 1,200 in it? So if I sold it for 1,700, I mean, that's still $50 an hour. But you also consider I drove 7 hours round trip picking it up. That one, I'm just gonna pull the rear end components out of it and sell it on eBay, and then I'm gonna take the rest of it and send it to auction. And that may be the best bet that I do with this too, just sending it to auction, because I mean, it does run. Well, after doing some numbers, I got to thinking, I was like, man, this Ranger isn't gonna be worth but like $1,500 the way it was, smoking, doing all that. So I decided, you know, I had the top end kit. I go buy me a new cylinder hone, strip this thing down and put it all back together and hope for the best. Luckily, it worked out. I just kind of went to work yesterday and got after it, got this thing all put back together, and it is good to go. It did not turn out very nice, in my opinion. It's just a good, solid beater, but the four-wheel drive works. Fires right up now. Doesn't smoke anymore. It's not blowing exhaust gases into the coolant. Sounds good. I had a whole lot of fun getting this carburetor tuned. These Chinese carbs suck, but you know, it beats spending with $600 for a new OEM carb, and man, the used ones are so hit and miss. I opted for it. Probably a bad call on my end. I think this thing will be worth about $2,500. I'll probably list it like $28, which will give us a pretty good profit. This thing here, we stripped the motor out of it. I just put it on Marketplace for $150. If it sells, it sells. If not, I'm gonna take it over to the auction house next week and see what it brings there. It's not really worth much. There's not like any high value parts on it. I did keep the rear end out of it. And I sold the side panels on eBay. I sold them for 150 bucks a piece. Overall, this deal's still profitable. I should come close to making all of the money back just on this from selling those two pieces and then the two axles and selling the unit. I bet I'll net 700 or 800 bucks out of this thing. Nothing special, nothing to brag about, but it's money. And this one here is, I really wish it had turned out nicer, but honestly, like with this cage and this hood, like it's not wanting to come back. I don't know. And then there's like this stuff on it and cigarette burns all over it. 2,500 bucks out of it. I think I'll be happy with that. I realize that's probably lower than what y'all would get up there. I like to move stuff fast. I imagine if I wanted to sit on it, maybe I could get 3 grand out of it. I don't want to do that though. You know, sometimes this is just how it goes. Now it's get rid of this and on to the next, see what else we got coming in for this next week. Delayed this video a tad. I think this will be the first one I've dropped on the weekend since I spent all day getting that top end back together yesterday. Thanks for watching. We're getting close. I think it's at 4,400 subscribers. If y'all could help me out, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit that 5,000 mark by the end of the year. And we're getting there, we're getting close. I think exact number when I looked this morning, it was 4406 and growing, so we'll get there.